can help heal the whole world. The most beneficial act we can do is to be in that deep, healing, transformative silence. Perhaps you are new to the experience, but think about cultivating silence in your life, either first thing in the morning or at some time to nurture and nourish yourself. Generally, in the practice within the Brahma Kumaris, we have the aim to be silent and free of any devices, at least until after our morning study, which is generally 7:30, 8 o'clock. And this is how we stay empowered and avoid being burnt out. So we hope that you had a taste of the sweetness of silence during this time. Just think for a moment, what was your experience and how might you include this deep, healing silence in your day? Om Shanti. Shanti does not only mean peace, but silence. I am peace. I am silent. So, thank you to everyone for your contribution to the atmosphere by maintaining silence, and also for all the wonderful questions we've received. So, where do we start? All right, let's start just from the top. I want my life to be light and easy. How can the light of power come to me? It's underlined. How can it come to me like Buddha got it when he got enlightenment? Sarah, would you like to begin with that, since this was your topic this morning?
My understanding, and I'm not a Buddhist scholar, so I don't claim to be an expert, but that Buddha came at a particular time in world history. So he had the context of what he was witnessing in society at the time, and understood even then, because it's several thousand years ago now, that people suffered because of their attachments and their mistaken identity. And so he did a very deep investigation into the nature of his own mind and what it was that caused suffering. And fast forward 2,000 years and we've got even more people. We're not treating the planet very well, and there's even more suffering in the world. So I think what Buddha said is still very relevant, but I'm aware now there is another energy here that possibly was working through Buddha at the time he was here, and that source of power is available to all of us now. Whatever faith, whatever practice, whatever religion. So, by taking help directly from this source, that can help us to decrease our karmic burden, because we are resonating at a higher frequency and we are getting the love we need, the power we need, the wisdom we need directly through this practice. So I think as we've tried to encourage you during this retreat, if you can begin to experiment with connecting with that source, you will find that your life has some magic, special magic that is happening today. And I think in all contemplative paths, I've been reading a book recently called Tiny Habits. There's quite an emphasis now on how you build up good habits. And so Yogesh started, I think, on the first day talking about what are the habits that really help you not to create more karma. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to settle our karma by not creating more bad feeling with anyone, by not harming any living creature, and by connecting to the light. So that's how I think we can make our life more easy. We all want to live a life with ease, as Buddha did. So now we have even more resources. We can connect to the light, and that will help a lot. And another thing that my venerable friend here, my noble friend, mentioned, he said that good friendship is also really important. Good companionship on this journey. People who can support you and encourage you in the path you've chosen and not criticize you or pull you down or try and persuade you you should be doing something else. So good spiritual friendships are something worth cultivating. Finding like-minded people and having those deep conversations and sharing. And that really helps on the spiritual path.
Yeah. I just wanted to say to that because, you know, as we heard the other day, you know, they call it the triple gems, which is Lord Buddha as well as the Sangha, the companionship, the company, and the Dharma. So yeah, it's really up there as a big one. Yeah, correct? Yes. So a question might have, I'm not sure, but might have come in people's mind then. Can you be a Buddhist and practice Raj Yoga?
What do you think, Moni? You've had a lot to do with Buddhist countries. You were really almost a Buddhist yourself, I think.
Yes, actually before Brahma Kumaris, my goal was to become a Buddhist nun, so I was quite intent in my days. And I think, you know, I still study Buddhism because I think there's a lot of wisdom and good practice. I think Buddha was an amazing teacher. So, and the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, they're wonderful teachings. So I don't think you need to leave any religion, whether it's Christian or Buddhist, to practice Raj Yoga. And you can still, you know, the light is, well, I would say from my understanding, Buddha got his light, as this question asked, from the light. You know, he was a prince, he was living his life, and then he had an awakening. So, yeah, I think we can. So, can I ask you this one, Yogesh? Someone is angry and asking you many difficult or philosophical questions. You don't know how to answer. You're wondering if staying in silence is a good or a bad response in that situation.
You're saying you don't know how to answer. Then you say, I don't know the answer.
Is that okay for whoever asked the question?
Certainly, not to inflame the situation.
Yeah.
If you argue, if you try to reason with a person who's angry, it doesn't work. You have to wait till they calm down. But not only silence, just to add a little bit to this, but also with your mind, just really having positive thoughts, good wishes, good feelings for that person. And anger is a fire, and your good wishes, your good vibrations will be like water, which will help that person to cool down. When they are cool, then they're ready to reason and rationalize.
I find a good method when someone's in that state of mind to say, that's a really good question. And I don't think, and I need to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, let me come back to you once I've really had a deep thought. So you're acknowledging them. I think when people get angry, often it's because they want your attention. So if you give that acknowledgement and that validation and say, that's a good question, let me think about it, I'll come back to you. Or most times, even if you say to them, I'm not really sure, what do you think about it? They will give you a long lecture on what they think about it.
Because it sounds like from this question it's someone who's got a different point of view spiritually.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Maybe they just want a chance to speak.
Yes. And I've practiced non-violent communication, and it's something I've embraced as much as I can. And they have this method of, you know, sharing the time. Say, well, let's take 15 minutes or 10 minutes. You talk for 5, I'll talk for 5. Then we can listen to each other. So then you don't have to sit and listen to a lot. Be fair. Equal time. And Yogesh, what's the difference between a human being and an animal? And actually there's 3 parts to this, so let me give you all of them. What's the difference between a human being and an animal? Do animals have a being or consciousness like humans? And how should we deal with animals?
Well, there's different kinds of animals, of course. How should we deal? Well, we should love them. We should enjoy them. We can learn from them.
Should we eat them?
I think I prefer not to. The human, if we use the word the consciousness or the energy or the spirit or the soul, whatever we use, but the human consciousness has these 3 main components which we call as a mind, an intellect, and the personality traits or the sanskaras. And so as human beings we can use our intellect to rationalize, to discern, decide, and so on and so forth. But the animal soul or the animal spirit doesn't have so much of intellect. Again, there are different kinds of animals, but animals work more with instinct, whereas humans work more with intellect. And it is said if human being uses the intellect well, we can create paradise in the world. But if human being misuses the intellect, then we create hell in the world. So today we see that intellect which is trapped by ego and anger and selfishness creates hell. And therefore so many humans prefer the company of animals to other humans because of the relative innocence that there is in animals. But as human beings, it's also our responsibility to serve the entire matrix of life. And therefore our purification, our divinization helps the whole system to upgrade as well. Is there one part I missed there?
There's another question to do with animals as well. Do we reincarnate as animals?
In a word, no. That in our understanding, the human consciousness, the human energy, human soul, always takes a reincarnation as a human being. sometimes in a male body, sometimes in a female body. We have both types of tendencies within us, male and female. But the animal souls, for example, dog will always be dog. Cat will always be cat. Sometimes you find cats who behave like dogs, who think they're dogs, and dogs who think they're cats. But there's a different kinds of souls, as it were, so they'll always reincarnate pretty much in their own species.
Okay. And who would like to answer this? How to have love for people who hate us?
Does anybody hate you?
There's a short answer and a long answer to this question. I mean, as a psychiatrist, I do understand how the human mind has a tendency to project things onto other people. And I'm sure we've all experienced projecting something onto someone else, but also when someone's projecting something onto us. And there's a nice saying, I think from a Buddhist therapist, says, feels real, but not necessarily true. So, I think what Yogesh was talking about earlier today as well, about how do we maintain that equanimity. And I've always found that a very inspiring concept that, and I think in Buddhism it's the middle way, but really you're not pulled by praise or defamation, happiness or sorrow, victory or defeat, because you know that on the other side of the coin there's the opposite. So don't be fooled. So it feels like someone hates you, it's painful, it's like they're trying to give you sorrow. And even in our spiritual class this morning, we were talking about this. Just because someone gives it to you, you don't have to accept it. And the pain we feel is when we take it, when we accept that. And so that begins a game, a karmic game. If someone hates me or feels like someone hates me and I hate them back, then where are we heading? To ultimately to war. So it's good to be able to step back from that emotion. And tomorrow we'll be talking a bit more about what are the attitudes of mind, what are the other powers we can imbibe that help us maintain that equanimity or help us not to continue our karma, continue that karmic account. So, would you like to add anything to that?
I think you said it very well. Maybe I can just add that if someone does hate you, that person is suffering. And so when you see someone suffering, you don't condemn them, but you have compassion for them. So behind that hatred is an individual who's actually in pain. And if I can look beyond the hate and see the being behind that, then I'll have feeling good wishes and I hope this soul, this individual recovers from this. And then there's a difference between to like and to love. I may not like someone's behavior, but I can still love the person who's behind that behavior. So for me, everything depends on what I choose to see in a person, which determines how I will feel about that person.
And while you've got the mic, Yogesh, we are living in a scientific world, a material world. How can we come across to the spiritual world, the spiritual perspective?
Come across?
Yeah, I think must mean, how do we switch over? Because we're so in that.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Okay. I do feel these two go together. Science and spirituality, and some even say they're actually both the same thing, just manifesting differently. One thing is for sure that our consciousness creates technologies, and we use technologies in our life. I mean, we're using them right now. They're very useful, but they should not be a substitute for our spiritual endeavor. And so we always feel that have a spiritual endeavor in your life that should be independent of science and technology, but use technology as a tool to help you in your life, as a supplement, but not as a substitute for your spiritual practice.
Good, and perhaps this one would be best for our spiritual psychiatrist. Where does the ego come from?
Where does the ego come from? I think, as I was mentioning this morning, this sense of false identification with what my body represents. And so, as pure spiritual beings, when we exist in that world of light, we don't have an attachment to our physical bodies or a sense of importance, and we're full of spiritual power. But as we incarnate and reincarnate and we start to lose that power, we're looking for it somewhere else. We have a sense of a loss, which is ultimately what initiates us to go on a spiritual journey to find what we've lost. But in the process of losing that energy and forgetting our true spiritual identity and mislabeling ourselves as what our body represents, we have to start defending. I mean, ego is that sense of, it can be of superiority or inferiority. So even that feeling that I'm not good enough is an aspect of ego. So you can feel better than someone or less than someone because you're not in your self-respect as a person, as a being. And so ego is in a way a coping mechanism to try and build my sense of self when I've lost spiritual power. So it's a kind of false self, but it helps me to, often when you feel that someone is very arrogant or egotistical, it's hard to like them. It's not a very nice personality trait, but understanding they're just trying to hold on to that sense of self-respect, that sense of who I am, and all the things around them, such as their house, their car, their money, all our possessions, in a way, are an extension of us trying to build up an identity that we've lost. So ego is part of our false identity, I think.
It's a huge topic. It's a whole retreat in itself. Could maybe just add a couple of sentences there that I think it's absolutely what you say. And the way I put it is, ego is what is produced when I identify with what I do and with what I have, which on the one level can be possessions, property, status, qualifications, money, and so on. But then also there is what sometimes people call a spiritual ego. So, for example, I am very spiritual. Okay, can be ego. I am very humble, can be ego. I am very experienced on the spiritual journey, also can be an ego. So to be egoless is one way to define the destination. And that's the great journey that we're on within ourselves.
Okay, so another question is, for those who have a low energy and who can't comprehend the essence of the message, how can the Brahma Kumaris assist in this? Yeah?
Well, important to acknowledge everyone is at a different level of spiritual maturity, and we have to respect everyone is, on their own individual journeys. So what I've found is that if somebody is not able to understand the message, it doesn't mean they're a failure. It doesn't mean they have to be rejected or to put on one side. But we do still invite and welcome people come to our centers, take part in activities, and take from the spiritual atmosphere that's created by meditators and yogis coming together. And even just being in the atmosphere of yogis together helps your intellect to open and for you to be able to reach those levels of understanding. Plus the second thing is what we call as karma yoga. And so generally we do as much as we can to take care of our centers rather than having outside cleaners come in. We try and do as much as we can ourselves, cleaning, cooking, chopping, etc. Because karma yoga, actions done in a state of yoga, even just vacuuming the floor or washing something, if I do that in this state of spiritual awareness, it does help to purify the inside and helps to cleanse the intellect. So then my understanding will go to another level.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too, that if they can't engage their mind, at least start with the body and, as Buddhism calls, create merit or gain blessings through that. Maybe the next question, Sarah. Do you think suffering is necessary for awakening?
I don't know about necessary, but it's kind of inevitable. Because we've all accumulated a lot of karmas now. And so, as I said when we were talking about self-compassion, do you know anyone who hasn't suffered? Does anyone know anyone who hasn't suffered? It's part of the human condition at the moment because we've lost that purity, we've lost that cleanliness, and we've created a lot of karma, and we've lost spiritual power. So, yes, I'm afraid it is kind of inevitable right now. Yeah. But this, as the question implies, it is pain and feeling uncomfortable, and what we experience is a very good motivator to do something about it. So it has a silver lining in the sense that, if we put our hand over the flame, it hurts, so it makes us take it away. So what often is the driver for us seeking, for us looking for answers, for us wanting to change our lives, is that suffering. So it could be our friend.
Our friend.
It could be our friend, yes.
And I was remembering what Yogesh was saying earlier, like we're being sculpted. So it's painful, getting things chipped away. Would you like to elaborate on that at all, or you've said it?
Yeah, maybe just one little thing to add, that pain is an indication something is wrong. Even physically, if you have pain in your body, it means I need to do something about it. So when any kind of pain or suffering comes, it's important to listen to the message quickly and take action on the spiritual level. Some people keep suffering, ignoring the message, and then the suffering just increases until it gets too much. So make it into a messenger and act on the message, so my life improves.
Yes. And maybe you'd like to start, Yogesh Bhai. What is meditation and how to do it correctly? You have to answer in 2 minutes.
Well, correctly, I'm not sure because everyone does it differently. My own practice has been this, that before meditation comes concentration, and before concentration comes contemplation. Unless I've built up concentration power, I will not experience anything. So there's 2 blocks here. One is contemplative thinking. That's where we have a commentary, we think things over in our mind. The partner of contemplation is visualization, creating a visual image. So these 2 things together, contemplation and visualization, they create the condition known as concentration. Concentration is where your mind and your intellect are working together. In other words, what I want to do and what I should do are both the same thing. The result of that is experience. That is called meditation. So meditation isn't thinking, and meditation isn't not thinking. But meditation is the experience of selected thoughts. I think I managed that in 2 minutes.
That was very good, I think. Yes. Okay, Sarah, would you like to attempt this one? What is the ultimate goal of Brahma Kumaris? In 2 minutes.
Well, I suspect it's in some way very similar to Buddhism. Like we are wanting to return back to that state of the consciousness of being a spirit, of being a spark of light, and experience our original true nature, and to settle our karmas, so that when we return to the soul world, to that land of light, that home of light, we do so very, very easily. When we leave our bodies, we know where we're going. But I don't know if you want me to say more than that, Morny, or that's enough for now.
Did it answer the question? Let's ask the audience. What is the ultimate goal? Maybe if I can add something, because, people generally say they're all different paths that go to the same goal. I don't really think they are. I think we have different goals, even spiritually, just like in life. And like many of the questions coming here about nirvana, so many people have the goal to not be in this world, to get out of this world. This world is suffering. We want to get out of this world. But the goal in the Brahma Kumaris is to live in this world as a perfect being. So it seems to be a little different. And that's not wrong. We all can choose, right? We can choose our goal and then make those efforts. So maybe we'll go to those nirvana questions. I was leaving them till a bit later because they're...
You can leave them till a bit later. Okay.
You're avoiding. Powder face.
It's kind of hard to answer that question without going into our concept of time.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's a good one. Why don't you just touch on that?
Okay.
Yeah.
So because in a way what I said and what you said sounded contradictory, because within the Brahma Kumaris there is the concept of a cycle of time. And so we would say at the moment we're at the point where we're reaching maximum degradation of the planet and maximum accumulation of our karmas. So something is going to happen. But it's a bit like it's a bit like the seasons, okay? So really that sense of we're in winter, we're in a dark time, toxic energy, but after winter comes the spring. So that's what we're looking forward to, is the spring. But we understand before that happens, and we will be living in the world as pure beings, that we need to go back to the home of the soul to be completely purified. And then we come round the cycle again. So we don't leave the cycle, whereas I think nirvana is a state where you leave the cycle of time. Yeah. So we don't expect to completely leave the cycle of time, except for a short period.
Yeah, so that home we could call nirvana. We do call nirvana.
Yeah, we could call that home.
But we do in Brahma Kumaris. We use that word in Hindi. And but we just go on to the next cycle.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we like to do.
That's our understanding.
Yeah. So, anything to add? Okay. So it's good to clarify that a little.
Yeah, I think, it sounds a bit scary, but actually I found it a relief to know that, because it helped me understand what was happening in the world right now. And why it was like
a major transformation.
There's going to be a major transformation, and we can feel it coming.
Yeah.
And not to be afraid.
Okay, so let's go to those nirvana questions. Coming from a Buddhist background, that there is nirvana, no rebirth. Could you explain the difference between the BK concept of rebirth and the Buddhist concept of reaching a state of living up there without coming back to the earth? I think we answered that one. Yeah. Let's just see the other nirvana ones. Yeah.
So nirvana is a popular question, it seems.
Yes, the goal. How is nirvana different from the soul world?
I think it's the same. Yeah, it's the same experience of being beyond the material world. The big question is, do you stay there then forever, or do you come back down eventually?
Okay. All right. And how Buddhist people understand what is the real meaning of spirituality, it seems similar and also different in some essence from the Brahma Kumaris, I think this means. I'll read it just as it's written. How Buddhist people understand what is the real meaning of spirituality, as it seems similar and also different in some essence. Would you like to answer this? Been a bit quiet there.
Well, I was surrounded by my two big sisters, so what need is there to say anything? I think you mentioned the difference between Buddhist people understand
spirituality.
Yeah, I mean, I can say from my understanding of spirituality as a Raj Yoga student, but how Buddhists understand spirituality is better answered by a Buddhist. So again, Moni, maybe as you've had the experience of both, maybe you're best placed to comment on that one.
Well, I think our venerables, would you like to have a... What's the difference between the understanding, I think we could say, what's the difference between the understanding of the Brahma Kumaris of spirituality? Is there a difference from Buddhist understanding of spirituality? Is there a difference?
in the Buddhism, the nirvana, and after you get the nirvana, you will not get a rebirth. It is finished, right? But whereas the Brahma Kumaris it is not certain, because according to her, it some time later it's again get into the circle of rebirth. Yeah, that's the main difference I see. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So can I say one thing? When I was talking to Buddhists in Australia at the retreat, I kind of agreed where the cycle starts. And I thought that was interesting, because when I studied Buddhism, Buddhism started in 2,500 years ago, roughly. That's when Buddha came down, right? So that's when already humans have started to become very impure. So nature of humans are very impure. That's where it starts. But the Brahma Kumaris, it starts 5,000 years ago. I mean, golden age, let's say. That's the beginning. That's very pure stage. So that cycle goes back to, we believe, well, we people in Brahma Kumaris, we believe that we go back to becoming angel-like, deity-like. But in Buddhism, it's similar. We become like a Buddha. Buddhahood is within us. But the focus is a little bit different. Yeah, the Buddhism talks about alleviating suffering, right? Pain and suffering. So we come here already with pain and suffering. But in Brahma Kumaris, it's already degraded. So I think, to me, the focus is a little bit different there in spirituality. Sorry.
And I think that's what this is about. We don't need, would you agree? We don't need to agree with each other. We respect each other's different perspectives.
Mm.
Did you want to say something?
I just was at the big temple in Colombo, and I met the head monk there, and I was saying to him that we have a concept of humanity being a tree, and because he was also saying, we have a lot of things in common, and he was very open, and they had a lot of Hindu deities in their temple as well. It was very eclectic. And I said, we have this image of the tree, so we're all coming from the same seed and the same roots and the same trunk, but there are different branches. And the branches of like Christianity or Buddhism or Islam, and so each branch has its own kind of flavor, its own way of seeing the world. But our common humanity, like the human race, actually is from the same seed, the same roots, the same trunk. Mm-hmm. And that's where we come together. And he liked that. He liked that kind of understanding. So we're not separate, but we are different.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going a little bit into somewhere else. Okay, let's see who would like to respond to this. It's in 3 parts. If the tiny dot attached to the pineal gland, the third eye of the human brain, is considered as storage of merits and demerits of a prime soul, sanskars, can the ultimate supreme enlightenment, nirvana, be considered as emptying the storage in the tiny dot, or energy stored becomes universal cosmic energy, similar property of an atomic bomb transferred to be adding huge energy to Earth?
I'd like to know who asked that question.
It was our brother.
Aha! I suspected as much.
Very.
I'm not sure if I understand the question. Can I look at what is written?
Yes.
That would help me. I have a feeling.
Okay.
Simple's
good. This is a little hard. Can you take the microphone then? Yeah. We will have
We
the
need to
microphone,
keep an eye on
we'll
time.
just finish within 10 minutes this session. Excuse me.
Yeah. If the tiny dot attached to the pineal gland, the third eye, of the human brain is considered as the storage of merits and demerits of the prime soul, that's sanskar. Can the ultimate supreme enlightenment, nirvana, be considered as demerits become zero and merits become 100%, and the 100% are emanated to the universal cosmic energy? Then it's similar to property of an atomic bomb. When blasted, emanates huge amount of physical energy to the earth environment.
I think that was possibly a statement rather than a question.
Yeah. Oops, take care. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think what we were talking about earlier was this idea that through a cleansing or a purification of the self means emptying yourself of everything that's not you. So that's your demerits, I guess, in Buddhist language. We would call it negative sanskars in our language. So everything that's not you is cleansed, and that connection with the source is the mechanism for that cleansing, that purification. So when you're also filling, you're cleansing of the negative karmas and you're filling with that positive energy. So the aim is by the time you get to nirvana, hopefully, to some degree, you have decreased your negative sanskars and karmas and increased your positive ones. And that is each according to their own spiritual journey. And so I think the energy that's released through that process is possibly something like a spiritual nuclear fission, something like that, yeah, because it creates a huge transformation in the whole world. So that's an analogy you're using, but it definitely has a profound significance on the whole state of our planet and ourselves. So thank you.
Thank you for that answer. Good. We do have a few more, and time is moving along. A lot of people do connect to the light, but that energy doesn't bring sustainable transformation due to a lack of understanding of the self. How can we make it possible?
Well, within the question is the answer. There needs to be more understanding of the self. And certainly in our spiritual university, there are a number of subjects we need to touch upon. The first is spiritual knowledge, clear spiritual understanding of the self, of the divine source, and of the karmic philosophy. Three main things. Based upon that, then comes the connection with the light, which we call as yoga or meditation. But then, in addition to that, our third subject is we need to work on imbibing virtue into ourselves, working on developing humility, patience, peace, love, and so on. And then the fourth subject is seva, service to others, through our thoughts, our words, our actions, our body, our mind, our wealth. So the whole package needs to be taken on board in order for it to work. But if we cherry pick and say, I only do meditation, then the other 3 legs of the table will be not complete, and therefore the experience will be comparatively less. So balance in all 4 enables us to really progress.
Thank you. And there's two questions that have come up that I believe we're going to be covering tomorrow. So one is, how do you define karma? How to break this unconscious pattern of life? So I think we're going to touch on that tomorrow. So if we could leave that until tomorrow and keep these questions for then. Could you give simple tips to let go of regrets and guilts, which I think we're covering tomorrow as well. So we'll just keep those 2 for tomorrow, if that's okay, so we can complete the others. Looks like there was one on the back. Share us the tips to feel content even in life's ups and downs. Again, 2 minutes.
Well, if they weren't ups and downs, he would flatline and he would be dead. Means life would be very boring if there were not some ups and downs. So when the downs come, then know that an up is coming afterwards, and use simple tips, use growth language. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What is this situation teaching me? How will this make me stronger? How can I move forward? So what seemed to be a down, in fact, is a part of the process of going up and becoming stronger. One analogy I heard once when I was feeling down was that when you use a catapult, for example, first you have to pull back the saddle, as it were, and then you release and you go very fast. So as long as I'm honest-hearted and I'm sincere in my efforts, actually everything is beneficial and productive. I must have faith in myself and faith in the process. And sometimes it takes a bit of time, but faith leads to victory, faith leads to success.
Thank you. And there's just one more question, and we weren't quite sure, so we'd like to know who asked it if you would like to clarify. Please elaborate on prime truth and noble truth. If this is anyone's question, maybe you can just clarify it. But we are out of time, so, but in essence, maybe I can just hear what's prime truth and noble truth. Yeah. So prime truth. Okay. And noble truth? Right. So it's the same, really. Okay. Right.
Maybe you could explain to us.
Yeah, we can have a... I think your questions need a little discussion, exploration.
But I also wanted just to add something to what Yogesh said about there's quite a big following now, a lot of research done on post-traumatic growth. The idea that, and I think it relates to what you said this morning, Yogesh, about it just depends on how you look at things, whether you see, and how people respond to situations, similar traumas, and some people can thrive afterwards and really grow, and others are just collapsed. But this whole idea that even if you've had a trauma, it can be a trigger for growth, for learning things, for overcoming, getting stronger, learning strategies, getting on in your life, changing your life. So in the psychological world, there's a study of this phenomenon as well.
Wonderful. Isn't that good to hear? Because we always hear post-traumatic stress and it's so hard to come out of it. But post-traumatic growth, very nice. That's a nice point to end on. So unless there's any other, maybe one question that came out from this? Huh? Yeah, but just, yeah. So any other question, or we're all feeling there's a lot to think about there and we'll go with that? Yes, very, very good. There was a lovely feedback that also came, not so much a question, but a nice feedback for this retreat and everyone's participation in it. So, I wonder if Susan is with us. Susan, I think if you can explain what's going to happen this evening. And Susan, I want to add one thing to the program, because the Venerables have been asked to give blessings. So at the end of the meditation this evening, if we can end with those blessings for 5 minutes. Okay, so just add that.
Okay, Om Shanti. So after this session, right, one request is kindly bring all your belongings with you. Okay, because we're going to set up this hall. Then later you may not be able to find your bags or your pens or your notebook. This is one. And 6:30 sharp, we will open the door as you enter. Do you mind if we put like a diamond on the forehead or your forehead? Is it okay? Yes? And when you come in with your bags again, maybe that corner, we will assign that corner for you to leave all your bags, pens, because you don't need pens, you don't need notebook, you don't need your bag. Only you and the diamond. Is that okay? Yes. So this is going to be a 1 hour session from 6:30 to 7:30. As Sister Moni has mentioned, this is our global event. Every third Sunday of the month. So this happened to be the third Sunday of July. We dedicate this 1 hour to radiate peace, love, care to the world through meditation. Don't worry, we are not going to make you to sit to meditate for 1 hour. It's going to be a creative meditation where we meditate in action, something new, okay? But we will explain to you, we will give you some instructions. So the whole process will be in silence. The only one who can speak is me. I will give instruction as if the whole process, because if I tell you now, you may not be able to remember the whole thing. Is that okay? We keep this in suspense. I can speak. Only I can speak. But all of you will be in silence. There will be some music, songs to help you. As we go through the process, we will begin with one song, so you know that, okay, meditation is starting 6:30. And then when we finish the first half an hour, there will be another song, so you know that it's already 7 o'clock. And when another song comes, means we have completed 1 hour. Is that nice? Yes? Okay. Then we have a special blessing all the way from Reverend 4 minutes. So we will allocate 4 minutes. 4 minutes, yeah. And the blessing cards after their blessing. The blessing cards we have special cards for all after that. So after the chanting finish, we don't go out yet because we have a special blessing cards for all of you. It's contributed by one of the sisters from Thailand. So you have lots of blessings. Okay, thank you.
Let me take the chance to introduce, just 1 minute. Oh, yeah?
No need translation.
No need.
Yes. But can you read? You can understand English? That is because all will be in the written form, and you were able to read, understand English without translation.